Hi, I'm Brenda Moe, Executive Director and Programming Director for Coral Gables Art Cinema. Thank you for being here with us tonight for a screening of Los Frikis, a film that's incredibly important to Coral Gables Art Cinema. We're so glad that you watched it tonight. I am here with the producer, Rebecca Karsh, and executive producer, Phil Lord. And we're going to chat about the film, and we hope that you enjoy this. Rebecca, I was hoping to start with you because this story is so special and so unique. I had mentioned to you before that I had heard an NPR piece maybe a decade ago about this. Can you tell us how you discovered this story and what compelled you to want to pursue it?
Yeah, so I found this story through the writer-directors, Michael Schwartz and Tyler Nelson. I had seen Peanut Butter Falcon and fell in love with the film and immediately called their agent and was like, who are these guys? Where do they come from? What do they want to do next? And we had this meeting and they started to tell me about this story. I didn't know about it. And so then I went down the rabbit hole of listening to the NPR piece, but Mike and Tyler had spent some time in Cuba, and they started to hear about the story as they stayed with different families and meeting people, and they just became really enthralled with it. And they have this ability to create a dance floor for lesser known stories and lift up other people, like they did with Peanut Butter Falcon and Zach for Down syndrome. And so I fell in love with it. And I immediately brought it to Phil and Chris, and I was like, I want to do this movie. I was like, it's Spanish language. It's about this story about the punks in Cuba that self-inject HIV. I know it seems very un-Lord Miller, but I promise you it's super Lord Miller in like the most unconventional way.
We didn't want to make a Rusty Razor Blades movie. We wanted to make a affirming movie that was um, um, that made you feel good when you walked out, and that you felt the possibilities of this found family, as opposed to one more thing that just bludgeons you over the head with how nothing can be fixed. We know that part.
Phil, can you talk to us about that first meeting where you were pitched this film and how you all decided to come around to produce it?
Well, Rebecca was very determined. We loved Peanut Butter Falcon. It was unclear to me what the guy's intention was. Did they think like people being poor and starving in Cuba with all its crumbling buildings was like sexy and cool? Right. And so I did want to test that, and I understood that they were really deeply committed to getting it right, and they wanted um, to be uncompromising in representing reality. And they were not living in some fantastical iconographic idea of what Cuba is today.
Yeah, yeah.
Absolutely. We sent it to every single cousin and friend of a and friend and cousin of cousins. We sent it to so many of the like any Cuban we could talk to. We sent the script to just say like, call us out. Like, what are the red flags? Does this make sense? Like, what is accurate? What isn't accurate? Like, how do we continue to build it? So we were like,
That's really smart. You sent
yeah,
the script or the film or a cut of the film?
All of the above, but early on with
All of
the
the above.
script, we wanted to
yeah.
share it
That's
with as
really
many
smart.
people that we knew, that people that were, you know, like me, like, sons of, kids of exiles, people who still live in Cuba, people who have emigrated more recently. Um, we really wanted to like cast a broad net to get the kind of feedback that we thought we needed.
So Coral Gables Art Cinema has a special history with this film. Phil, you are a friend of Coral Gables Art Cinema. You have made really thoughtful contributions to our expansion plan, which I want to say thank you to you directly and personally. Your family comes to the cinema. Of course, Ransom Everglades, we should say, is your high school alma mater. You and I shared an intern, Diego Duckenfield, who went to Ransom and then went to Los Angeles. He's such a, when he was 15, I had him doing the worst work here at the cinema, and he did it proudly and happily. And so early on, I was contacted by Rebecca, who had said, hey, we have this film and we want to do cast and crew screening. And we had the honor of hosting that. And so, and to be able to see everybody who was involved in the film, an opportunity for them to watch it on the big screen. So I want to say to you all, thank you so much for the opportunity. It meant so much to us. And then we waited to see what was going to, where it was going. And so when did you all decide to get into the festival circuit with the film, and how did that go? Because it feels like there was a lag and then the film took off like wildfire.
It was the first time Eros, the young star of the film, had ever seen a movie on the big screen.
Yeah.
And
What?
so the first time he'd ever seen a movie in a theater, he was in it.
What?
Yeah.
That
Second movie he ever saw in a theater was the premiere of Spider-Verse.
It's quite a bookend experience for movie going, I have to
For
say.
sure.
I've watched movies before by my home.
Yeah, Eros. This is the first movie theater Eros has ever been in. Am I correct, Eros?
Yeah, you're correct.
Yes, and today is the day that Eros is going to see the movie he started, and the very first movie he started, the very first movie he's going to see in a movie theater.
So crazy.
That is the craziest shit I've ever heard. I love it so much. I kind of can't believe it.
This is too big, actually.
That cast, had a really special experience seeing that story told big and loud in your theater. So it was a really big deal. And, since then, like, the festival thing takes a long time to develop. It's not a surprise that people, that we needed to find the right home for a story like this. It needed a home like the Miami Film Festival that really gets it, and a community that really gets it and understands all the nuances. The more specific a story is, the more universal it becomes. And we have shown this movie to like Scandinavians and they get it.
Yeah.
You don't have to, like, the human beings that watch the movie respond to its specificity regardless of where you're from. And that's what I think is so amazing about what this team accomplished.
You hosted a masterclass here at Coral Gables Art Cinema, and you had said that same thing to the audience then, and I could feel it resonate with the people in the audience of just thinking this through. Like, specificity really does dig into the core of who we are, what we are, asks us challenging questions that gives us a mirror that's easy to then look at and reflect on our own experiences. And so I love that. And I think the time and place for this film, it also looks good, sounds good. There's so much going for it. Rebecca, can you talk to us about the challenges of just getting it made?
We filmed in the Dominican Republic, but we cast out of Cuba, and we had to fly. I think we flew about 25 actors from Havana to the Dominican Republic during COVID. And it was a lot of these kids first film. So like they didn't even have passports. So we had to get them passports, and then we had to get them visas, and then we had to get them to the Dominican. And like seeing their experience through it, it was like the most special thing. And then once we got there to the Dominican, it was like magic, like our location was so special, and the filming of it was incredible, and we all became this like super tight-knit family. And then the hard part is afterwards. We edited the movie for a really long time. You mentioned the sounds. We had an amazing sound mixer, Michael Samanek, who mixes all of Phil and Chris's movies. He was super passionate about it. And
Yeah, he mixed Lord of the Rings. Yeah, so we brought out the big
Amazing.
guns. The other thing that's
yeah,
interesting about those, the cast we made the movie with, they went back to Cuba this movie's set in the special period in the 90s. They went back to Cuba in the middle of another special period.
yeah,
It's become the biggest mass migration out of Cuba in history. And they, many of them are now in the United States.
yeah.
So
And
many of us have been reunited in Los Angeles and Miami.
like you said, like it's been a journey getting it out. It's not a quote unquote commercial film, it is, but at the same time it plays really, really well for the audience, but it doesn't seem that way. It's really difficult.
Give a quick shout out to Adria Arjona, who is our big movie star who agreed to spend some of her well-earned capital on being in the picture and also helping us produce it.
Yeah, that was a big thing that got us, um,
It helped us raise the
that's
money.
where we are. Yeah, it helped
Yeah.
us make the movie, and I think, we applied to every festival there was. We pitched, we went to every studio there was, and no one really wanted to take the film, and it's a risky film to make and release, and the subject matter is difficult for some, and it's hard, like in a straight pitch, you can't convey how much like joy is actually in the movie by the straight pitch of it. And then I think the movie always did what it wanted to do, and it had its own life. And I think in its heart, we were all kind of knew it needed to be in Miami to premiere. That's like what the movie wanted. That's what we wanted. It was the perfect way to be able to put the movie out.
Yeah, it's incredible. I was at that premiere, and I purposefully sat at the very top of the auditorium in the Adrian Arsh Center so I can see the entire crowd. And I kept on feeling like shocked over and over about the number of people that were coming in. And with this giant auditorium, you could hear a pin drop. And at the end of the film, it felt life affirming, not only as a story, but as somebody in the film industry. Like, this is why we do this. And it felt so good. And I felt so much pride having hosted the film and knowing the two of you, and to see just the impact that it had. And so why should somebody see Los Frikis?
I think that it's just a lesser known story, and it's a way to get to learn something, but also have a good time.
I'd also say that
Yeah.
the most punk rock thing you can do is to thrive. And to me, that is what Miami has done. It is what these characters do and what these actors have done. In the spite of very difficult circumstances, they insist on thriving. I personally, as somebody who grew up in Miami, am so proud and happy to bring this story.
I want to say thank you so much, Rebecca, so much, Phil, for your time, for bringing this story to the screen. it's so important, and I can't thank you enough for sharing it with our audience. Thank you both so much.
Thank
Thank
you, and
you.
thank you all you nice people out there who came to see the picture.
We're so grateful for you guys. Like you said, you've been with us since the beginning of our tour of Frikis, and it just means the world that you guys love and support it so much.
And one thing very important to anybody in the audience seeing this, you are now a Friki. And the way this movie travels is because people walk out of it and tell their friend you have to see it. So now you're in the band and you got to put up some flyers, go on the WhatsApp, whatever it takes, and let people know about this story.
That's incredible. Thank you both so much.